Greg Abbott is once again challenging federal authorities on the border. He's saying Texas has a right to self-defense because he believes the federal government is not doing enough.
Most incumbents don't lose elections. They get fired, and they get fired because they're doing a bad job. As you talked about, the immigration system and the border issue is the primary issue in America right now.
The Supreme Court is siding with President Biden in a dispute with Texas over the border.
A Supreme Court ruling is giving the federal government more flexibility here at the southern border. The justices ruling Monday that Border Patrol can cut and remove about 30 miles of razor wire installed along the Rio Grande by the state of Texas, escalating a political battle between President Biden and Texas Governor Greg Abbott.
Texas National Guard soldiers putting up more razor wire in Eagle Pass to increase border security, despite the federal government allowing border agents to remove or cut that wire.
Listen, I'm proud of the great state of Texas. I'm proud of our governor. I'm proud of our state legislature because they're stepping up and defending our state from invasion. Listen, the mayor of a bunch of blue cities, the governors of a bunch of blue states have declared illegal immigration emergencies in their states. That's true in New York. That's true in Boston. That's true in Massachusetts. That's true in Chicago. That's true in L.A. Eric Adams, the liberal Democrat in New York, has said illegal immigration is destroying New York City. That's 110,000 people are destroying New York City. I agree with him. But if 110,000 people are destroying New York City, what the hell do you think 9.6 million people are doing to Texas and the other states on the southern border? And so Texas is stepping up to defend our state. I'm glad we are. But the reason Texas is doing so is because Joe Biden and Chuck Schumer and the Democrats affirmatively want this invasion. By the way, you want to know why negotiating with these guys, why they're doing it in such bad faith? They are today, as you pointed out. Joe Biden is litigating against the state of Texas to try to stop Texas from securing the border. Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. is the greatest friend the Mexican drug cartels have ever had. He is the greatest financial benefactor the Mexican drug cartels have ever had. He is the single largest human trafficker in history. Now, that may sound like hyperbole, but those 9.6 million people, when they come over and turn themselves in, they tell the Border Patrol agents, I want to go to the following city, and they pick a city. And Joe Biden puts them on planes and puts them on buses and sends them to every city in America, and Joe Biden is the last mile of the human trafficking network. So, yes, Biden is fighting ferociously to stop Texas from defending ourselves. He is wrong.
We need to let Greg Abbott do his job, which is to put up the razor wire. I stand with Texas. We've got to secure this border.
And with those crossings at an all-time high, the Biden administration is putting a greater focus on border security, claiming the president wants to do more, but it's up to Congress to appropriate funding. At the same time, the White House is also pushing for big changes to the immigration system.
He's asking for more resources, and he wants to see additional resources, but also changes to policy to address what we've been seeing at the border.
Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle say they're close to a deal on a new bill that would include significant funds for border security, but it would also increase the number of migrants allowed to cross legally, a sticking point for some Republicans.
I'm not for just having 1.8 million people come across the border. I think there are national security problems with that.
Governor Abbott and Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton say they will continue fighting in court to keep the razor wire up.
So it was the states that created the United States, and when the states voted to create the United States and have a constitution, included in that agreement was the compact that the federal government would take care of the states. And Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution speaks to that and says that if the federal government does not take care of the states, and the states are in danger, well, we can ask the federal government to live up to its obligation. Then the authors of the Constitution knew there would be times when the federal government would not live up to its duty. And so they empowered states in Article 1, Section 10, the right of self-defense. And what Texas is asserting is our Article 1, Section 10 right of self-defense, because the President of the United States is not fulfilling his duty to enforce the laws passed by Congress that deny illegal entry into the United States.
Governor, will you instruct your officers to physically prevent federal officers from accessing that part of the border?
So what Texas is doing is just very simple. And that is because the Biden administration has really, truly abdicated its responsibility to secure the border and enforce the laws. Texas, very simply, is securing the border. And so we put up the razor wire that you were talking about, Bill, and we put up all these barricades that actually have denied illegal entry. And as you pointed out also in that screen, there are criminals coming across our border. Texas has a right as a state to stop criminals from coming into our state, to make arrests of those criminals. And we have National Guard as well as Texas Department of Public Safety officers who are there to make those arrests and to deny illegal entry. And Joe Biden actually does have an option here. Joe Biden's option is to enforce the laws of the United States and stop this illegal entry.
Doesn't look like they're going to do that. Listen to Corinne Jean-Pierre. This is what she said about you yesterday.
It's unfortunate that there is a governor in Texas, Governor Abbott, who has politicized this issue of what's happening on the border. And it's not making people's lives safer. It's actually making it harder for law enforcement at the border to do their job.
She just said that this morning. How do you respond?
Well, obviously, it's a very uninformed comment on her part. There's really only one person in America not doing their job, and that's the president of the United States, who's not enforcing immigration laws. Also, as she has already been called out, and the president and other Democrats and media, they have cast a false narrative about some people dying on the border that apparently Texas denied Border Patrol access to. That's been completely debunked. The only thing that the spokesperson for Biden can do is to cast aspersions and lies, hoping that people will believe them. Because the truth of the matter is, what Texas is doing is what Americans expect to be done. Americans expect the border to be secured. Because Joe Biden has abandoned that responsibility, Texas is stepping up and doing it with all that razor wire that you're showing right now.
Mm-hmm. And you've committed to putting up more razor wire, where the U.S. Supreme Court just a few days ago said that the feds are allowed to cut through the wire that you've been watching yourself for a couple of years now. And just to go back to your first answer that you mentioned there, this was your statement yesterday. The federal government has broken the compact between the United States and the states. The executive branch of the United States has a constitutional duty to enforce federal laws protecting states, including immigration laws on the books right now.
What is clear is that Joe Biden has, from the time he took office, actually during the time that he was campaigning, he had no intent to secure the border. He talked about open border policies during the campaign, and now he's allowed open border policies with candidly most Americans not even knowing what that meant. But now the people in New York knows what it means. Now the people in Chicago knows what it means. People across the country are having to experience what open borders mean. Bill, I'll tell you this. Most incumbents don't lose elections. They get fired, and they get fired because they're doing a bad job. As you talked about, the immigration system and the border issue is the primary issue in America right now. This is an issue upon which Joe Biden gets a grade of F and deserves to be fired.